The warning lights were flashing red across the bridge of the Galactic Council's most advanced space station. Commander Zexai stared at the massive screen in front of him, his 4 eyes wide with shock. The numbers on his scanner made no sense at all. "Run the scan again," he ordered his crew. "This has to be a mistake." The young officer at the scanner station pressed the buttons with shaking hands. She had never seen her commander look so worried. "Sir, I've run it 5 times already. The results are the same every time." Commander Zexai walked closer to the screen. For 30 years, he had been watching the galaxy's borders. He had seen every type of ship that flew through space. But this was impossible. "Show me the size reading again," he said quietly. The numbers appeared on the screen. The ship they had detected was over 10 kilometers long. It was bigger than their entire space station. It was bigger than anything the Galactic Council had ever built. "Sir," the scanner officer said, her voice barely a whisper, "according to our records, this ship came from the Sol system." Every alien on the bridge turned to stare at her. The Sol system, Earth, home of the humans. Commander Zexai felt his blood turn cold. Humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be weak. Just 50 years ago, they were still fighting wars with metal bullets and simple rockets. The Galactic Council had laughed at them. They called humans the babies of the galaxy. "That cannot be right," Zexai said. "Humans don't have ships like this. They barely have ships at all." But the scanner never lied. Deep in the empty space between star systems, a massive human warship was drifting silently through the darkness. It showed no lights. It sent no signals. It just moved forward like a giant shadow in the night. "So what should we do?" asked the communications officer. "Should we contact the Galactic Council?" Zexai thought carefully. If he was wrong about this, the Council would laugh at him. But if he was right, if humans really had built something like this, the galaxy would never be the same. "Get me Admiral Koroth," he ordered. Priority 1 communication. Minutes later, the hologram of Admiral Koroth appeared on the bridge. The old alien looked tired, but when he saw Zexai's face, he stood up straight. "Commander, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Admiral, we've detected something impossible. A human warship. It's huge, sir. Bigger than anything we've ever seen." Admiral Koroth was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. "Commander, I think you need some rest. Humans don't build warships. They build tiny exploration vessels that break down every few months. Sir, I'm sending you the scanner data right now. Please look at it." Zexai watched as the Admiral's expression changed from amusement to confusion to pure fear. The old alien's face went pale. This can't be real," the Admiral whispered. "Where did they get this technology? How did they build something like this without us knowing?" "That's what scares me, sir," Zexai replied. "We've been watching them for 50 years. We thought we knew everything about humans. But this ship, it's not just big, it's advanced, very advanced. Our scanners can barely read its energy signature." The Admiral was quiet for a long time, staring at the data. Finally, he spoke. "Commander, I want you to send 3 of our best cruisers to investigate this ship. But tell them to be careful. Something is very wrong here." "Yes, sir." "But Admiral, what if this isn't the only one?" The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. Both aliens knew what it meant. If humans could build one ship like this, they could build more, many more. "One step at a time, Commander," the Admiral said. But Zexai could hear the worry in his voice. "Send the ships. We need to know what we're dealing with." As the Admiral's hologram disappeared, Commander Zexai looked back at the scanner screen. The massive human ship continued its silent journey through space. It didn't seem to care that it had been discovered. It didn't try to hide. It just kept moving forward with cold, deadly purpose. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "the 3 cruisers are ready to leave. Captain Vorthak is leading the mission." "Tell Captain Vorthak to be very careful," Zexai said, "and tell him to report back every 10 minutes. I have a bad feeling about this." As the 3 alien cruisers left the space station and headed toward the mysterious human ship, none of them knew they were about to discover the most terrifying truth in galactic history. The humans had been hiding something big, something that would change everything. And they were about to find out what it was. Captain Vorthak sat in his command chair, staring at the view screen. 3 hours had passed since they left the space station. Now, finally, they could see it with their own eyes. The human warship was massive. It hung in space like a dark mountain, completely silent. No lights. No signals. Nothing. "Captain," his weapons officer said nervously, "I'm getting strange readings from that ship. Its armor is thicker than anything I've ever seen." "Stay calm," Vorthak replied, but his voice shook slightly. "Remember, these are just humans. Primitive humans." The 3 alien cruisers moved closer to the mysterious ship. Captain Vorthak had fought in many battles. He had seen the ships of every major species in the galaxy, but this human vessel made him feel small and weak. "Try to contact them," he ordered his communications officer. "Unknown human vessel, this is Captain Vorthak of the Galactic Council Fleet. Please respond." Silence. They waited for 5 minutes. Nothing. "Try again," Vorthak said. "Use their primitive language, English." "Human ship, this is the Galactic Council. We know you can hear us. Please respond immediately." Still nothing. The massive warship just drifted through space like a sleeping giant. "Captain," the scanner officer called out, "I'm detecting life signs on that ship. Thousands of them. But they're not responding to our calls." Vorthak felt anger rising in his chest. How dare these primitive humans ignore the Galactic Council? Did they not know who they were dealing with? "Move us closer," he commanded. "If they won't talk, we'll board their ship and make them talk." "Sir, are you sure that's wise?" his second officer asked. "We don't know what weapons they have. They're humans," Vorthak shouted. "What could they possibly have that we need to fear?" The 3 alien ships moved within 1 kilometer of the human vessel. Up close it looked even more frightening. Its dark metal surface seemed to absorb all light. Strange symbols were carved into its hull, but none of the aliens could read them. "Prepare boarding pods," Vorthak ordered. "We're going inside." Just as the alien ships powered up their boarding systems, something incredible happened. The human warship came alive. Thousands of lights suddenly blazed across its surface. The ship's engines hummed with power. Weapon systems that the aliens couldn't even understand began to charge up. "Captain," the weapons officer screamed, "energy readings are off the charts. This ship has more firepower than our entire fleet." Then, for the first time, a voice came from the human ship. It was calm, quiet, and terrifyingly confident. "Galactic Council vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You really shouldn't have done that." Captain Vorthak's blood turned to ice. The human spoke their language perfectly. Her voice showed no fear, no worry, no concern at all. She sounded like someone who held all the power in the universe. "Human," Vorthak said, trying to sound brave, "you will surrender immediately." The Galactic Council demands nothing from us," Captain Chen interrupted. "You came here uninvited. You tried to board our ship without permission. In human terms, that's called an act of war." Suddenly, all the systems on Vorthak's ship began shutting down. His weapons went offline. His shields disappeared. Even his life support systems flickered. "What's happening?" he shouted at his crew. "Captain, they're somehow interfering with our technology. Our computers are being overridden." The same thing was happening to the other 2 alien cruisers. All 3 ships were now floating helplessly in space, completely powerless. Captain Chen's voice came through their speakers again, still calm and controlled. "Don't worry. We're not going to hurt you. Yet. But you need to understand something very important. Your technology is 50 years behind ours. Your weapons cannot damage our ship. Your shields cannot protect you from us. That's impossible," Vorthak yelled. "Humans are primitive. You've barely left your own planet." There was a pause. Then Captain Chen laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "Captain Vorthak, you've made a very serious mistake. You assumed that what you could see was all there was to see. You thought that because we let you watch us, you actually knew us." The alien captain felt fear creeping into his heart. "What do you mean?" "I mean that for the past 50 years, while you were laughing at our primitive ships, we were studying you, learning about you, preparing for you. And now, you've given us a reason to stop hiding." The human warship's weapon systems finished charging. Energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible. "I'm going to give you one chance," Captain Chen said. "Turn your ships around. Go back to your council. Tell them that humanity is no longer asking for permission to exist in this galaxy. Tell them that we're done pretending to be weak." Captain Vorthak stared at the massive human ship, his mind racing. Everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. Everything. And Captain, Chen added, her voice turning cold as space itself, if you ever threaten a human ship again, you'll discover why the rest of the galaxy should fear us. Part 3. The Warning Ignored HFY Story Script. 800 words. Captain Vorthak stared at the human warship for a long moment. His hands were shaking, but his pride was stronger than his fear. He had served the Galactic Council for 20 years. He would not be threatened by primitive humans. Human, he said into his communicator, trying to sound brave. You have made a terrible mistake. We are the Galactic Council. We rule this galaxy. You will surrender your ship immediately, or we will destroy you. The silence that followed felt like ice in space. Then Captain Chen's voice came back, and this time she sounded almost sad. Captain Vorthak, I really hoped you would make the smart choice. I gave you a chance to leave with your lives, but you chose pride over wisdom. You cannot threaten us, Vorthak shouted. There are thousands of council ships in this galaxy, millions of warriors. You are just one ship full of primitive apes. One ship? Captain Chen repeated slowly. Captain, you still don't understand, do you? You still think this is about one ship? Suddenly the space around them began to change. The stars themselves seemed to move and shift. But they weren't stars at all. They were ships. Human ships. Dozens of them uncloaked around the 3 alien cruisers. Each one was as big as the first warship. Each one bristled with weapons that made alien technology look like children's toys. Dear gods, whispered Vorthak's second officer. How many are there? This is just the local patrol, Captain Chen said calmly. Would you like to know how many human ships are really out here, Captain Vorthak? The alien captain could not speak. His mind could not process what he was seeing. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be new to space travel. They were supposed to be harmless. For 50 years, Captain Chen continued, your council has been watching our little exploration ships. You laughed at them. You called them primitive. You thought you knew everything about humanity. More human ships appeared. Hundreds of them. They surrounded the alien vessels like wolves surrounding helpless prey. What you didn't know, Chen said, is that those exploration ships were not exploring space. They were exploring you, learning your languages, studying your technology, mapping your weaknesses. Vorthak finally found his voice. That's impossible. We would have detected you, would you? Tell me, Captain, what do you know about human stealth technology? As if to answer his question, the human ships began to demonstrate. They flickered in and out of visibility like ghosts. They appeared and disappeared at will. Some ships seemed to be in 2 places at once. We've been watching you for decades, Captain Chen explained. We know where every one of your bases is located. We know how many ships you have. We know what you eat for breakfast. We know which of your officers are brave and which ones are cowards. But why? Vorthak asked weakly. Why hide from us? Why pretend to be primitive? Because we hoped you would be peaceful, Chen replied. We hoped that when we finally revealed ourselves, we could be friends. We wanted to give the galaxy a chance to accept us as equals. The alien captain felt his world crashing down around him. Everything the council believed about humans was a lie. Everything. But you couldn't do that, could you? Chen continued. You couldn't treat us as equals. You had to try to board our ship. You had to threaten us. You had to prove that the galaxy is not ready for peace. Small objects began launching from the human ships. They looked like tiny metal insects, but they moved with deadly purpose. What are those? Vorthak's weapons officer asked in terror. Nanobots, Captain Chen answered. They're going to disable your ships completely. Don't worry, they won't hurt you, but you'll be flying home in escape pods. The tiny robots swarmed over the alien cruisers like angry bees. Within minutes, every system on all 3 ships was dead. Emergency lights flickered on as life support switched to backup power. Captain Chen, Vorthak said desperately, please. We made a mistake. We're sorry. Just let us go home. Oh, you're going home, Chen replied. And you're going to deliver a message for us. Are you listening carefully? Yes, Vorthak whispered. Tell your council that humanity is done hiding. Tell them that we're done pretending to be weak. Tell them that every ship they send against us will be destroyed. Tell them that we've been preparing for this day for 50 years. The human warships began moving into formation. It was the most beautiful and terrifying thing Vorthak had ever seen. "And Captain," Chen added, her voice turning deadly serious, "tell them that we gave them peace." They chose war. Suddenly, alarms began blaring on all the human ships. Captain Chen's voice became urgent. "All human vessels, this is Chen. We have a priority message from Earth Command. Begin Phase 2 immediately." "Repeat, begin Phase 2. "What's Phase 2? Vorthak asked, but he was afraid to hear the answer. Captain Chen's final words sent ice through his veins. "You're about to find out that this little fleet was just the beginning. Every major world in this galaxy is about to have visitors. Hope your council is ready for the real war." Across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, the same thing was happening at exactly the same moment. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Admiral Keth was enjoying his morning meal when his aide burst into the room. "Sir, you need to see this immediately." The view screen showed something impossible. 50 massive human warships hung in orbit around their planet. They had appeared from nowhere, like ghosts becoming real. On the Crystalline Empire's capital world, Emperor Vexton was in the middle of an important meeting when every alarm in the palace began screaming. His military advisors stared in shock at their displays. "Your Majesty," the defense minister whispered, "there are human ships surrounding our planet. Hundreds of them. The same scene was playing out everywhere. Every major alien civilization in the galaxy was waking up to find human warships in their space. Ships that had been invisible. Ships that had been waiting." Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, Emergency Council Leader Zarketh stood in the main command center, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. His face had turned pale gray with fear. "Sir," his communications officer said with a shaking voice, "we're receiving the same report from every sector. Human ships have appeared near every homeworld, every major space station, every military base. They're everywhere." "How many ships?" Zarketh asked weakly. "Current count is over 10,000, sir, and more are still appearing." The old alien leader felt his legs give out. He collapsed into his chair, staring at the massive tactical display. Red dots marked human ship positions. There were so many red dots that the screen looked like it was bleeding. 50 years, he whispered. For 50 years we thought we were watching them. But they were watching us. A new voice filled the command center. It was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its confidence. "Citizens of the galaxy, this is Admiral Sarah Mitchell of the Human Defense Force. I am speaking to you from the flagship Terra's Might, currently positioned near your council headquarters. On every screen across the galaxy, the image of a human woman appeared. She was wearing a military uniform that looked more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. Behind her, through a large window, they could see the curve of space and stars. For the past 50 years, Admiral Mitchell continued, humanity has been living a lie. We allowed you to believe we were primitive. We allowed you to believe we were weak. We allowed you to believe you were superior. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Admiral Keth dropped his breakfast. His hands were shaking so badly he couldn't hold his cup. The truth is, Admiral Mitchell said, we have been studying you, all of you. We know your technologies, your weaknesses, your military capabilities. We know where every one of your ships is located at this very moment. Emperor Vexton of the Crystalline Empire stood up slowly. This is impossible, he said to his advisors. Humans just learned to travel between stars. They're babies in space, but even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. The evidence was right there in his own sky. Admiral Mitchell's voice continued across the galaxy. You believed our exploration ships were simple and primitive. In reality, they were the most advanced scouting vessels ever built. They carried technology you couldn't even imagine. The view screen changed to show recordings from 50 years ago, but now the aliens could see what had really been happening. Those primitive human exploration ships had been scanning everything, recording everything, learning everything. While you were laughing at us, Admiral Mitchell explained, we were mapping every weakness in your defenses. While you were calling us children, we were building the most powerful fleet in galactic history. At the Galactic Council headquarters, Emergency Leader Zarketh watched the tactical display with growing horror. The human ships weren't just scattered randomly around the galaxy. They were positioned perfectly. Every strategic location was covered. Every important world was surrounded, sir. His military advisor said quietly, "Our war computers have run the numbers. If they attack, we cannot win. Their technology is too advanced. Their positions are too good. They've planned this perfectly." 50 years of planning, Zarketh whispered. 50 years of preparation. We never had a chance. Admiral Mitchell's image appeared again. You're probably wondering why we're revealing ourselves now, why we're ending the pretense. The answer is simple. One of your ships threatened us. One of your captains chose aggression over peace. The screen showed the encounter between Captain Vorthak and Captain Chen. Every alien leader in the galaxy watched their worst fears come true. We hoped, Admiral Mitchell said sadly, that when we finally revealed ourselves, it would be as friends. We hoped you were ready for equality, but you've shown us that you only understand strength. The human admiral paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. So now you will learn what human strength really means. But first, there's something else you need to know, something that changes everything. The screen went black for a moment. When it came back, Admiral Mitchell looked directly at the camera with eyes full of grim determination. The reason we've been preparing for 50 years isn't just to protect ourselves from you. We've been preparing to protect all of us from something much worse, something that's coming. The silence across the galaxy was complete. On 1,000 worlds, billions of aliens held their breath, waiting for Admiral Mitchell's next words. What could be worse than the human fleet that now surrounded every major planet? 67 years ago, Admiral Mitchell began. Before humanity even left Earth, our deep space telescopes detected something at the edge of our galaxy. Something that shouldn't exist. The view screen changed to show an image from space. At first, it looked like empty darkness. Then the aliens saw it, a shadow against the stars. Something massive was moving through the void between galaxies. We called it the Devourer, Admiral Mitchell continued. It's not a ship. It's not a weapon. It's something much worse. It's a living creature the size of a small moon, and it feeds on entire civilizations. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Admiral Keth felt his blood turn to ice. A creature that big? At the Galactic Council headquarters, Emergency Leader Zarketh stared at the image. This is impossible. Nothing that large could be alive. But the evidence was right there on their screens. The thing in the darkness was moving with purpose. It was heading toward their galaxy. Our scientists studied it for 20 years, Admiral Mitchell explained. We learned that it has destroyed 7 galaxies before ours. It travels from galaxy to galaxy, consuming every form of life it finds. Planets, ships, entire star systems. Nothing survives. The view screen showed more images. Dead galaxies. Empty space where billions of stars used to shine. The path of destruction was clear. When we realized what was coming, Admiral Mitchell said, we knew that no single species could stop it. Not even humanity. It would take the combined strength of every civilization in the galaxy working together as one. Emperor Vexton of the Crystalline Empire suddenly understood. That's why they've been watching us. They were preparing us for war. But there was a problem, Admiral Mitchell continued. Every species in this galaxy was too proud, too divided, too busy fighting each other to unite against a common threat. The Galactic Council was a joke. You argued about trade routes while death was coming for all of us. At the Council headquarters, Zarketh felt shame burning in his chest. She was right. The Council had spent decades arguing about stupid things while ignoring real dangers. So humanity made a choice, Admiral Mitchell said. We decided to become strong enough to force unity. We would build a fleet powerful enough to make you listen. We would become the leaders this galaxy needed, whether you wanted us to or not. The view screen showed images of human shipyards hidden throughout the galaxy. Massive construction facilities that had been invisible for 50 years. Thousands of workers building the most advanced ships ever created. Every exploration mission was really a preparation mission, Admiral Mitchell explained. We were choosing locations for hidden bases. We were studying your technologies to understand how to protect them. We were learning your languages so we could communicate with you when the time came. On screens across the galaxy, new images appeared. They showed the Devourer getting closer. Current projections put its arrival at less than 2 years. It will reach our galaxy in 18 months, Admiral Mitchell said grimly. When it arrives, it will head straight for the most populated worlds. It can smell life from light years away. Your homeworlds will be its first targets. The tactical display showed the creature's predicted path. It would hit the Zephyrian system first, then the Crystalline Empire, then the Council worlds. Within 5 years, every major civilization would be destroyed. Now you have a choice, Admiral Mitchell said. You can surrender to humanity's protection and help us build a unified defense, or you can fight us and face the Devourer alone. But understand this. If you choose to fight us, you will lose twice. First to us, then to the creature. Emergency leader Zarketh looked around the council chamber at his advisors. They all had the same expression of helpless fear. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. Admiral Mitchell's expression softened slightly. "We want what we've always wanted. Peace, unity. A galaxy where every species works together instead of against each other. But now we're running out of time to ask nicely. And if we agree, then welcome to the Human Protection Fleet," Admiral Mitchell said with a slight smile. "Your ships will be upgraded with human technology. Your crews will be trained by human instructors. Your worlds will be defended by human shields. And when the Devourer arrives, we'll face it together. And if we refuse," Admiral Mitchell's smile disappeared, "then you'll face the Devourer with whatever primitive weapons you have now. And you'll lose." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Admiral Keith looked up at the human ships in his sky. They no longer looked like invaders. They looked like guardians. "Signal the human fleet," he told his communications officer. Tell them we accept." Across the galaxy, the same message was being sent from every major world. The age of division was over. The age of unity had begun. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something ancient and hungry was coming home. The end.